Hey, party people. In this video, I want to talk about how to manage custom fashion orders and freelance projects. And this is going to be a tips video as opposed to a process video because there are so many different kinds of projects out there. It's impossible to impose a format that works for everyone or even a majority of people. However, in this video, I'm going to go over a ton of tips I believe apply to any kind of custom design or freelance work in the general fashion design and illustration realm, including how to price yourself. Okay. On screen, I'll be doing some rendering experiments because one, I've been itching to paint for a while. And also I wanted to test this new to me bamboo paper I bought in Buenos Aires. It is Hanamule's bamboo mixed media paper. It is 90% bamboo and 10% cotton rag. It's made for watercolor, acrylic, and pastel, and it is 125 pounds, 265 GSM. Let's move on to the tips, okay? Tip number one, document everything. Take notes at every meeting. When you have a phone call, a Skype call, in-person meeting, take notes and then send an email to your client. Write out all the details in a simple, easy to read list. I love bullet points. They're easy to read. And then have them confirm the written version, have them confirm the pricing, have the payment plan and the delivery date. And so there is a constant paper trail of the things, the terms of the project that you two agree upon. And by payment plan, I mean, are you going to ask for a deposit first? And when and how are you going to collect that money? What sorts of ways can clients pay you? You have a lot of options. You can do cash, PayPal, Venmo. They can cut you a check. They can pay you with credit card using one of those mobile apps, the little swipey thingies. If you're working with an established company, they may offer direct deposit. So you have a lot of options, and so you should see what options work for you and offer them to your clients. By delivery date, I recommend you set the delivery date, not always a specific date. It might, depending on the project, it might be a time period after the last fitting. You might say delivery date is 1 week after the last fitting, and you are both responsible for having timely fittings, especially if the custom piece is for a specific event. And best of all, I suggest you draft a standard contract for the kind of work that you do, whether it's illustrations, flats, tech packs, custom dresses, and your terms should be in your contract, and you can change the dates and money amounts as needed. And if you're working with a bigger company, they may have one. Ask for their terms, go over it very carefully, hire a lawyer if you need to. And yes, you can ask for changes. I've never been penalized by politely asking if I can get something different. Okay? They might say no, you might have to compromise, but read it and ask questions as necessary. Tip number two, always charge for materials separately. A client choosing a very expensive fabric for a gown should not cut into your profit margin. In fact, they should pay for the materials up front so you're not literally left holding the bag on fabric you don't need if the project doesn't go as planned. And it's nice for the client. You show them you don't do shady stuff like marking up the cost of materials. For illustration projects, you should charge for things that you'll have to buy special for their project, especially if it's not something you think you'll use again. I did a project once that required me to do specific marker renderings in a very specific color story, and I had markers for about half those colors, so I sent them a receipt for reimbursement for the new colors of markers I had to buy. This is also one of those things that you talk about in the beginning of your agreement where you say, I would like to be reimbursed for special materials I bought specific for your project. Tip number three, keep client profiles. This is key for keeping organized and helpful in getting repeat orders. For making clothes for private clients, you don't need the kind of tech packs that fashion companies use for mass production. but I still recommend a simplified version just to keep you organized. And once you start becoming more successful and you hire an assistant, then you can communicate through your client files with your assistant. It's easier to communicate and not have to explain everything over and over again to a new assistant. You just have all these customer profiles and have the measurements for the customer on file. Take notes on their preferences and what kind of fit they like. Just because they're a certain measurement doesn't mean that every customer is going to want the same fit. Okay? When I buy blazers and coats for my husband, I prefer a sharp shoulder, a well-shaped shoulder. When I buy clothes for myself, I prefer things that fit loosely. Sometimes I will go up a size because I really do not like tight clothes. Clients really like it when you remember their preferences, like they never wear purple, or they like super short skirts, or they hate certain fonts for their line sheets, things like that. Keep tabs on local events. Where I live, the beginning of the ballet season is marked with a big ball, and lots of women get special gowns just for this occasion. You could do a promotion of gowns sometime in advance, depending on how long it takes you to make a gown. You can email your clients ahead of their birthdays, see if they want a special dress as a gift for themselves, and go ahead and send them a birthday card while you're at it. Don't bug them all the time, though. That's just annoying. Tip number 4. Let's talk about social media and self-promotion. First of all, and this is a biggie, ask for permission to post about private client work. In this age of lawsuits, zipping around faster than the speed of sound, 1, cover your butt, and 2, be respectful. Clearly post all pics posted with client permission on everything. Because you know what? Technically, these things don't belong to you. They're paying you for this dress, for this illustration, for whatever. And so it doesn't technically belong to you once they've paid for it. You notice on my Instagram, there are very, 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 very few things that are for a paying client. You don't see any of my client work, and that is very on purpose. All the things you see on Instagram are things that I made for a YouTube video or, drawing practice for me, or just something I wanted to do because I found it enjoyable. If you do an ad that you pay for, like a promoted post on social media, which is popular these days, you have to ask the client for permission to use their image. You're better off taking photos of something that was not made for a client. On that note, what should you post on social media? You can post works in progress. You can post about shopping trips to get materials. You can post tips and tricks on certain steps of the process. And you might be like, no, Zoe, I don't want to share my process. I don't want to help the competition, or maybe if I teach too much stuff, my clients will not need me anymore. Listen, and I speak from my own experience. The kind of clients who would pay hundreds of dollars for a custom dress are not going to be the ones that make things for themselves, even if they know how to do it. And 2, when you are able to teach something, it signals to people that you are somewhat of an expert in this thing you are showing. I speak from experience. 98% of my videos are tutorials, but people contact me constantly for fashion design, illustration, tech design jobs. They also approach me for teaching jobs and consultation things, and those are my favorite things. But because I teach design, people see me as an expert on design and want to hire me for that. You see what I'm saying? On your social media, you should advertise your strengths. You're sending subliminal messages about what kind of work you like and want to be hired for. Maybe you love beading, but don't enjoy difficult pattern making. So show off some beautiful, simple sheath dresses or evening columns with intricate beadwork. Maybe you're a modern day V&A and bias cut drapes are your jam, and maybe you do lots of things. And hopefully you'll get to a point where you only take projects that you love. You'll probably have to suck it up and do some stuff that isn't your favorite in the early years, but you got to pay those bills, right? But definitely highlight the things you love and like and don't hate. This is a question I get a lot. But yes, I do believe you should create a website with your portfolio that is separate from social media. Make some pieces to advertise your strengths and post them on the website and social media. And maybe you do this in the beginning when you don't have a lot of customers. Add pictures of client work as you get them. Make stuff in between clients. And you don't have to make a gown from scratch every time. Maybe you do a beading sample. Maybe you hem 8,000 layers of ruffles in a very difficult fabric and you take up some close-up shots so people can understand how good you are at sewing. I also encourage you to create an analog portfolio as well. Put all the pictures in a folder in a tablet so you can carry your tablet around and you can show clients in a meeting without relying on slow coffee shop Wi-Fi. You can print out some small lookbooks and then hand them out at meetings. Also, make sure you list your social media on your business cards. Tip number 5, and now the doozy. Let's talk about money. Do not charge by the hour, charge by the service. And you may be thinking, Zoe, I don't know how to charge. Either way I do it. All right, so I'm going to show you one method of how to calculate your fees. This is not the only way to do it, but this is a good place to start, especially if you're kind of new to pricing stuff for yourself. Okay, you're going to start by figuring out what basically your hourly rate is. I know that sounds like the opposite of what I was saying before, but stick with me. Okay? Start with your desired yearly salary. Think about your bills, the cost of living where you are. Think about what you're worth. Think about your skill level, how long you've been in the industry, and then take that number and divide that by 50 weeks in a year. Let's pretend you take about 2 weeks of vacation spread out throughout the course of the year, okay? We all need days off, right? So divide that yearly salary by 50 weeks in a year and then divide that by 40 hours a week. So this is a little USA biased. The standard work week in the US is 40 hours, but of course you can adjust that for different work weeks. Now you have your hourly rate for your yearly salary. Calculate how long it takes you to sew up a dress or whatever project you're thinking of doing. Remember when I told you to sew up some gowns to put in your portfolio to drum up business? When you do this, time yourself. Time the pattern making, the cutting, and the sewing all separately. Remember, clients are paying for materials separately. Then take that number and double it. Why? Because you need money for overhead, for paying your taxes. And if you're doing this kind of thing full time, you need to pay your own medical, dental, stuff that a company would provide separately from your salary. When you're giving estimates, list out all the services you're offering for that money so clients understand all the work you're putting into a project. List the custom design sketches, material sourcing, pattern making, fitting, cutting, sewing, any kind of decoration. This way, you can offer your clients some deals. Let's say they want a winter suit and you make one and it fits great. And then a little while later, you can contact them and say, hey, do you want a lighter suit for warmer weather? If you're the same size as before, I can charge you a discounted rate for sewing only. Some people will bring you a photo and ask you to make a copy, and then you can take out the time spent designing or sketching or extensive pattern making. So why not charge hourly instead? When you give estimates, you'll have an idea as to how long it'll take you to draw 10 flats, and so you can charge X dollars for 10 flats. As you get faster and faster at flats, as you build your flats template library, you're going to get paid better and better for the same work because it will take you less and less time to do the same number of flats. If you charge by the hour, you'll be getting paid less as you get faster and better at doing flats. So in this way, use your calculated hourly to give you an idea as to where to start, but charge per project. Calculate the time required for the design, the sourcing, the pattern making, the cutting, and the sewing, plus revisions for an easy dress, a medium dress, and a difficult, elaborate dress so you have some base rates to start with. Special note: I generally let clients have 2 revisions before I start charging for more revisions. For things like hand-painted illustrations, I charge if they request I do the whole thing over again, because it's hard to erase paint and marker, you know? But to bring it full circle, you get these kinds of clauses written into the initial agreement at the very beginning. The longer you stay in the business, the faster you get at everything, the better your reputation grows, the faster you can turn around things, the more you're making, quote unquote, by the hour. And then you can start increasing your rates as your demand grows. But you do have to slog in the hours in the beginning. That's it for today. Please give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new. Please share, subscribe, drop your questions in the comment section below, and good luck with all your projects. I'll see you in the next video.